Hey there, welcome to a brand new episode of Muzikxpress. My name is Twan, and in this week's vlog you will see the first of two interviews which I did with Jeroen Flamman. In this week's vlog he will share the story behind the Fierce Ruling Diva classic Rubb It In. But before we start with the interview, please make sure to subscribe to my channel, and very important, also make sure to click the bell button, because then you will get a notification the next time a new vlog is online. And if you enjoy my interviews and you want to support Muzikxpress, you can do that via one of the links in the video description. Every donation is very much appreciated. Alright, here it is, the story behind Rubb It In by Fierce Ruling Diva, my interview with Jeroen Flamman. Enjoy! Dutch-American duo Jeroen Flamman and Jeff Porter, a.k.a. Abraxas, are responsible for several hardcore projects. You might know them from acts such as The Party Animals, Tekno Mafia, Flamman and Abraxas, and Fierce Ruling Diva. As Fierce Ruling Diva, they released tracks such as You Got to Believe, with Kream, Amsterdam Slide, and of course Rubb It In. For this week's vlog I sat down with Jeroen Flamman in the beautiful studio of Mikel Le Roy in Amsterdam to ask him about the story behind Rubb It In and more. My first question to Jeroen was at what age he started to listen to music.
Listening to music very early. I think when I was 11 or 12, I had an older brother. He's 8 years older, and he was a hippie. So I think when I was 11 years old or something, I was already sitting with the hippies who were all on LSD, and they were sitting in some squatted theater or something. I would be sitting in there. So I grew up a lot with like psychedelic music from the 70s. And when I started listening to music or buying records, and it was really like the punk days. Yeah. It was like the end of, I was born in 64, so in 1979 I was like 15 years old and a young rebel. Yeah. So all the punk music was for me was myself. So I really liked the Ramones, and I really liked Motorhead. I really liked Sex Pistols, and then after came a lot of the post-punk like Gary Newman and New Order.
And around what time did you start with making music yourself?
I was 15 when I had my first band. It was called the Frigid Prams, and it was an electronic band. I was a drummer though, so we didn't have electronic drums. We just had like regular drums. I may have had our lead singer. He would have like a couple of machines. He could make some weird leaps, and he probably make some weird drum sounds as well. But yeah, in those days we already started our first label. So we started our independent label was called Finger in the Dike Music, and it was a cassette label. So we would print our own cassettes, and we would deliver them to Buddhist in Amsterdam, and they would sell them in a little shop in a little alley near the central station. And we actually went to Rough Trade in those days. They had a small office in London. And we tried to offer the Frigid Prams to them, and they thought it was very hilarious, but it was not good enough for them. So, and I was living in Luna aan de Vecht. I was living in a small village outside Amsterdam, like 20 minutes south of Amsterdam, and I was going to school there. And it was at that time that I left and I went to Amsterdam. So my friends that I had the group with, they continued the label, something in the Dike Music. It lasted like a year and a half, and they had like a couple of releases. But I was in Amsterdam already by that time.
Yeah.
And that's when I started. It was my second band. It was called Terreur. It was a punk band. And I was like a replacement drummer, because they had a drummer, and then the drummer quit or something. They were looking for a new drummer, and I was like, okay, I can drum, but I wasn't really like a diehard punk or something. But no, I did do a lot of speed in those days. So I do like until I think by the time my energy was over, then the song was over too.
Oh yeah. So around what time did you start listening to electronic music?
Well, very early. So as soon as electronic music came out, I mean,
yeah. And what was that also the time that you started making electronic music?
No, like the real electronic music I was listening to in those days, maybe when I was 16 or 17, I started doing LSD or something. And I was listening to all the weird like psycho rock from those days. I cannot even recall all it was like Robert Fripp and Frank Zappa, and it was like a lot of like really crazy music, and you can call it electronic music already.
Mm-hmm.
Kraftwerk. I liked Kraftwerk, but at the same time I wasn't too impressed or something. It wasn't like that was not my favorite group or something. I was mostly into punk, but like the electronics that came after, like the even like the Giorgio Moroder or something, like the whole electro-y type sound or something.
Yeah.
That was the first time. I mean, with Frigid Prayers, we used to have like one of those Moog things with all these cables and play around with it and make funny sounds and stuff, even though we had no clue what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
But, you can plug it in and you put some cables in, you tweak some buttons, you get like, woo, 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 you get like weird sounds. And, you drum, and our singer was my best friend in school. He was Australian, so he had like it's a difference when you're a Dutch group and you have an Australian singer, then you don't have the Dutch accent, which everybody hates in the Netherlands only.
Mm-hmm.
And then I really stopped at one point. So after the punk days or something, I really stopped like everything, like doing drugs and doing the like rough lifestyle, all this stuff, and I started to work. Actually, I started to work for Jo van den Ende. Was my first.
That's cool.
I started as his private driver, so my first job was pick up his new Mercedes in Utrecht, and then after I had to, that was maybe my test or something to see if I could, if I was good enough. Then after, I didn't drive Jo van den Ende personally myself, but I worked for his production company, and one of my first jobs was to like pick up actors and actresses at home. You start as like they call it like production assistant.
Yeah.
Oh, that's chill, right?
Yeah.
So and I did that for a long time, but I did all the nice jobs. So I was doing like movies and commercials, and you make a lot of money when you do commercials, because commercials, they're like shot like a feature film. So they have like a 35mm camera. You have like a director of photography from the UK or something who probably shot some really famous movies, because they really advertising agencies really want to pay for them. To have some famous
big budgets.
Yeah, big budgets.
Yeah.
So you would have like with a large crew, you do like a production of like 5 days or something. You make like a lot of overtime. So maybe my rate wasn't even that bad. It was like, I think 400 guilders in a day or something. As an electrician, I was an electrician and gaffer later. But all the money comes, of course, when you make like 20-hour days. Mm-hmm. So you work, you can make like 1,000 guilders a day. So you really only have to work like 3 or 4 days a month.
Mm-hmm.
And we had like a lot of money left over. So at that time, I started. Actually, I had a little interference there, because I went to America at one point. So I met Jeff Abraxas in 1986, and he was traveling through Europe at that point, and just passed by Netherlands, and I catched him, I think, just a week before he would go to Spain or something. So then I went to Spain with him, and we spent some time there, and then we went back to America. I was like, I want to live in New York, isn't that? So then we kind of planned to move to New York. And that's when, like in 1986, I went to New York, and I think after 1 month I had to go back already, because all my money was finished. I had like 4,000 guilders like saved up or something. But yeah, that gets you like 1 month in New York.
Yeah.
So I had to like rethink a little bit what to do. But then I was able to start. Are you allowed to say that? Or even after a decade, is probably you can go to jail for working illegally. But I kind of started working under Jeff's name, because obviously our first name is a J for both. So in those days, you would get paid by check. You get a written check from your. So I always had the checks made out to Jeff, and Jeff would cash them, and then we would.
Clever.
Yeah. So, but I started as an electrician with working as an electrician for like construction companies. So I'd like wake up 6 o'clock and go to some address in Brooklyn or Queens, and like do all the wiring and do all the fuse boxes and all the. Of course, that was really boring, and we get up really early. But then a lot of the freelancers who were working, because everybody was like self-employed, they were also doing other electricity jobs. It was like how do you call them? It's not like really like a congress. It's like a how do you call it? When you have like an expo or something, when you have like a huge hall And a lot of companies have like a small booth.
Yeah.
And every company has a different order. And everybody needs electricity. And some people need some lights. Some people need a screen. Some people need speakers. And so some people need a TV connection. So you would have to, every time there would be like a job, it's on the west end of New York, where the piers are. There's also like the big warehouses where you would have those. And then it would go there and work the booths, like prepare all the booths for the expo. And like a lot of people there, they also did follow spots for fashion shows. So then I ended up doing fashion shows and doing like follow spot. And then of course a lot of those people also worked in movies. So it took me like a half a year or something, but within half a year, and at one point I was doing the same thing in America what I was doing in the Netherlands. Doing electrician work, lighting work, being gaffer for commercials. And it was in those days it was when house music really started, and when house music like creeped into New York or something. Like I was living in Williamsburg, like just across Brooklyn Bridge, like really maybe like only 300 meters into Brooklyn or something. We had like a little record store at the corner. And that's where I actually bought my first Terry record, and I bought it because at one point, because there was hip hop and stuff, and in America, of course, you have like a lot of people who like boost their cars and make like turn it into like a big sound system and go through the streets. And at one point, there was a van driving by, and I don't remember the name of the street. It's like the main street in Brooklyn, where in Williamsburg, but. It was driving by. It had like fluorescent lights at the bottom, and it was playing Party People from Todd Terry. That was like the first time I actually heard that music, and it was the first time you heard like Four on the Floor, because hip hop, of course, was like boom, boom, boom. Oh, and it was the first like boom, 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 boom. But same with the lights, and it was just going down the street, and we were looking from the window. I was like, whoa, I want to have that record. So we went to the little record store at the corner by the entrance for the subway, and they actually had the record. So it was just my first house record that I bought. But at the same time, he had like the piers in the west part of New York. I don't remember if you remember the music, the movie Cruising with Al Pacino. Mm-hmm. It was a movie about gay scene in New York in the 80s, and I don't know if people remember, but I think Al Pacino was dressed like all in leather. It was like a leather man or something. He had like this really hardcore gay men thing or something, which I think we have in every city in Amsterdam too. But I think it was in those days that kids from the suburbs, they came voguing, and they all went to the piers, and where all those men were cruising, suddenly all these young kids came, and they all went like voguing and this and that, and it all happened at the same time when I was doing the little electric jobs in the West Piers. So that was one of the first things before it even came to the clubs. It came to the street. Like everybody came with the house music to the piers, and before going out or something, just like drinking and smoking outside and voguing a lot. The voguing was very present and very.
So when did you decide like to make your own house music?
Well, not until we were back in Amsterdam. So I think I've told the story many times or something, but when you live in America, you only get a visa for 6 months. So every 6 months you have to go back to the Netherlands and to get a new stamp in your passport as a tourist. So I went back to the Netherlands, and then I realized when I went out here that there was hardly any house music here. So at that point, there was really, Joost van Bellen was doing the Wednesdays in the Roxy, and that was really good. But the rest of the week, there was no house music in the Roxy. The Roxy was also like jazz, and everybody knows that Eddie de Klerk was doing parties or something in the weekends or something. But Joost van Bellen was really the first one who started, and it wasn't even house music or something. I think Joost van Bellen, he really already catched on with new beat, and new beat came a little bit before house music already. So Joost van Bellen was already a little bit on that streak, and what I liked about him, even though it was the Wednesdays in Roxy was the gay night actually, but he was playing harder than anyone else, and everybody's complaining about the dress code or something from the Roxy in those days. But the dress code actually was not valid on a Wednesday. On a Wednesday, you were allowed to like walk in with anything, with your sneakers or with your tracksuit or So the Wednesdays was always like a really fun day at the Roxy, but it was one of the few places. And then I went to the Milky Way and I saw Per, and Per had like a dance night there, and he had like 15 minutes of house. He would do like 15 minutes of house during that party, and that was all. Like 15 minutes of house in the Melkweg, and you had like a Joost van Bello on the Wednesdays, and for the rest there was no interest. Also, not in the alternative scene or something, because I lived in in squats or something for a long time. But yeah, people are really interested in rock and not so much in electronic music. So really punk and rock and hard rock and like alternative music or like indie music. But we really didn't start making music or something. We started throwing parties, because that was like Jeff's father. He was a DJ, so he had like a drive-in show in the Bronx, and he was doing like weddings, and he's also like he plays Zydeco, so he plays music, and he has like a DJ set, and has his whole thing with flyers and posters, and you can book him for weddings. But he had like 2 turntables and a mixing board left over, and we were living in Brooklyn at that time, not in Williamsburg anymore, but in another part. And he donated us his turntables, and those were 2 Technics, but still with the elastic band, so no direct drive or something.
Yeah.
So it was really, really difficult to learn how to DJ those days. But it's in New York, I realized for the first time, like, hey, mixing for me is actually quite easy, because I've been a drummer like for years, and I noticed like, hey, that boom 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 means 8 bars, and you put 8 bars in, and hey, you get like a new harmony. You put this record together with that record, and when you put them together, they sound like a whole new record. Something. So it's in New York where I really catched on, and we put all the turntables and the mixing board and the records that we had and everything, we put it in a big hamper. And when we decided to go back to the Netherlands, because I invited Jeff to come with me, said, we can go and promote house music in the Netherlands and make that our little thing, that we can make our little independent business. And that's what we did. So we started organizing small nights. Like I remember in the Kream in like the university area, like the student whatever party location. And there was some other, like the B33 or something, was also like near Vondelpark. There was also like students location. So we started out in some student locations, and really with all the very early house music that we know, like from Chicago Tracks, from really all the early slow stuff, and Orbital and LFO, and it was all very slow and very swool in the beginning. And we had like Fractals projector, and we had like a mirror ball, we had like strobe light, and we had like black lights. We had like all these things like people now maybe don't realize that in the 80s, like when Eddie de Klerk, people always say Eddie de Klerk started doing big parties. Like people say, like, okay, so what? Everybody does big parties, but in those days nobody did that. So in those days there were maybe 1 or 2 discotheques in Amsterdam, but not people weren't going out like we go out now. There were many bars, but there was no after hours. Everything would close at like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. Everything would be finished. I mean, Oxhoofd or something. Oxhoofd was a club that was there. I think Leidseplein had some clubs, like in the near the Prinsengracht. You had de Gigi's en wat is het ook weer, hè? FF en de Gigi, en dat zat allemaal naast elkaar daar zo. But so the It or something, it didn't exist in those days. It was like the Flora Palace or something. It was maybe like a disco, but really, yeah, like maybe now if you go to a casino in Las Vegas, you also have like a disco or something. But yeah, it's like just like an area you can walk into.
Yeah.
But it's not like a pounding disco audience or something. So when Eddie de Klerk started doing those larger events, that was really like the first time. And when Jeff and me started doing after hours, because we figured, okay, we need to have like our little niche, because we have the Roxy, we have the It was already then there already too. That was also like created, I think 89 or 90. We figured, okay, we need a special edge, and we thought, okay, after hours, that could be our thing, because we knew after hours from New York, but there was no after hours in Amsterdam yet. So we figured, okay, we're going to do after hours, and we started on the Albert Kuip, and we called it Planet E. because I was living on the Albert Kuip, but I had to leave because the building was going to be abolished. And I talked to the neighbors, and they were all like, "Oh, fine, do whatever you want." So we had some after hours parties there. And, that's where we started. And after 4 weeks, we went to a squatted sauna on the Damrak, and I think that's when it really started getting busy. I mean, we already had in our first night we had Barney and Gillian from New Order. Because that's cool. Yeah, they came because we started when we started it was like the Manchester Hacienda night at the Roxy. And we were, because we were big New Order fans, so we say, oh, we're gonna throw a New Order after party. So what we did was we said, oh, it's New Order after party, and we put like flyers on all the bicycles outside, and we did flyers in the Roxy. And so we went back to the Albert Kuip, and we hit our little show, and then the bell rang, and I looked out the window, I was like, oh my god. And it was actually Barney, and so actually they spent some time with us that weekend, because there was also like a party from Soho Connection, from Paul J and Maz, was on the West Einde, near Nederlandse Bank, also in a squatted area. So we took New Order there, and we took them to the Vondelpark, where we stayed there until 5 a.m. or something. Everybody would wake up under a tree when the sun would come up. But when we went to the Damrak, for example, we had Double Trouble. Double Trouble was also
street off.
Was swing beat, I think.
Hip house.
Yeah, hip house. Hip house swing beat. Yeah. But they were all dancing, and so our club was already a little bit famous after a couple of nights, and we were too busy. So Jeff was making tapes at that point. He made a lot of tapes to play, so we could be busy with the people and with the party, and I was like, nah. That's it's fake, So we need to play live music. So then we decided Jeff would go take care of the organization. I would just play live music. So that would be my first DJ gig, and we continued with Planet E in the Kokkenstraat. So we found an old lesbian disco which was abandoned, and we kind of walked in when the new owner was walking around, cleaning things and walking around in his empty club or something, and he didn't know what to do with it. And so we kind of bought his turntables. We said, oh, we'll give you 375 guilders for your turntables. And it's 750 guilders for your turntables. And he said, oh, yeah, sure. And so we took the turntables, and then later he called us the next week. He said, whoa, those turntables, they were 750 guilders each. So you guys are so clever, I want you to run a club. So then he invited us to run the club for him. So then we started Planet E. And in Amsterdam, we were, there was no after-hours license, but you could have a temporary license, and you can apply for a license. But it takes a long time, so it would take 8 months or something before you would get your it was called a 10 to 4 license or something. So in the weekends, you can be open from 10 to 4 or something, and in the weekends from 10 to 5. But until you have that, until you get the license, you get a temporary license, but the temporary license has no restrictions. So we would just open at 5 o'clock and be open till 9 o'clock. So basically all the doormen from the Roxy and the IT and the Paradiso and the Milky Way, all the personnel, a lot of those people would come to Planet E. So it was half in crowd and half crazy people.
Yeah.
And so we managed to keep Planet E open for 3/4 of a year, and then when we finally got our permit, we were a legal club, and we could legally open from 10 to 4 and from 11 to 5. Of course, we would just sit there in an empty club, and then nobody was, because everybody was in the Roxy or in the IT. By that time, Jan van Galen Hall, he had a lot more places. But it was at the early point already that we weren't so happy with the number of records that were coming out. I mean, the house music, the techno and acid scene, it was really small. I mean, there were only maybe 10 people in New York doing it, and 10 people in Chicago, and 10 people in Detroit, and 5 people in the Netherlands or something. So we just had okay, there's not enough music coming out. We have to make our own music. And that's when we really, at one point, we just opened up the Yellow Pages. And we started looking for a studio in Amsterdam which had a sampler, because we had some samples. We had a couple of records we wanted to sample, and we had some ideas, and we had some lyrics, and I don't know if I had my W-30 back then already. I think the very first time we didn't have anything yet. I think the very first time we made a song. We found the studio of Mikel Le Roy, and we figured, okay, it's on the Prinsengracht, which was quite close, because I live near the Albert Market, and Prinsengracht is like, okay, this is like 500 meters, this is like a small walk. So we figured, okay, that's okay, we take a look there, and that's when we made our first song, but our first song, we really didn't know what we were doing yet. So I had this drum computer, Alice's drum computer, we bought in New York, and, we already had some patches programmed and some sequences made. So we had like a song which had like all the house beats, all the house claps, and we had some sounds that we wanted to sample, and Jeff had some lyrics that he wanted to sing, like I don't want to be a freak, and I can help myself. And we had another friend, a girl, she also had some lyrics, and we recorded another song called Feeling Fly, but we recorded those songs, I think, in one weekend at Studio Le Roy, and I think there was already an Atari back then here, so I think we used Cubase in Atari, but again, the computers in 1989, 1990, they were not like what a computer is now. Mm-hmm. So it was already really, really, really special that you could hook up a computer and record some notes and have them play back and have like a sync track, which actually syncs those notes with the multi-track tape. So when you record your vocals, you can sync it with the drum computer and sync it with. So the first record that we made, I Don't Want to Be a Freak, is like really basic. There's only one drum computer, it's like one sample and Jeff's voice, and we had like a Casio sampler. It also had like a nice string sound, so we put like a little string sound. And that's when we started not just making music, but we were like, okay, we want to be completely independent and completely DIY, and so we actually established our own label, and we went looking for you start everything from scratch, and it didn't exist then yet, so you have to find a mastering, but you end up in a place in Soest where everybody masters their record. So we were like, okay, if we want to count, we have to master our vinyl at the same place where everybody masters their vinyl. But then, of course, there's like some sound purist who masters the vinyl, and he's like we're like a bastion you have to get past, because they're really, really proud of their work or something. Mm-hmm. So they would just reject the work because the hi-hat was just too loud or something, and that's not possible. You cannot cut that. The hi-hat cannot be so loud because I have to do all these. He would really be upset with us or something, and other things like things we wouldn't pay attention to, like phasing or something, phase changes. Well, if that happens on your vinyl, it actually means that your needle will go and then leave the vinyl or something. So all these things we would learn while you were making music, and you learn from your mistakes, and you learn why a long play record is not so loud as a 45-inch record, because you just have more space, and you have more you have more tempo, so you have more dynamics in your vinyl. You learn all those things, and we had to go and look for a pressing plant, and you had to really get over the whole idea that we had to pay Puma Stemra, and that to us was like, we couldn't understand why we had to pay Puma Stemra, because we didn't have a lot of money, and it costed maybe 1 guilder to press a record, but you also had to pay 1 guilder to Puma Stemra for pressing the record. And we thought it was so unfair, because we made our own, it was our own songs, so we were the composer and the author, and we were also the label. So we said, okay, why do we have to pay €1, and then 1 year later we get 85 cents back? So we figured, it doesn't make sense. But luckily, later you find out the logic. Because not many people press their own records. Usually it's someone else who presses the record. So Puma Stemra just makes sure that whenever there's a record being pressed, that there's one guilder or something coming your way, one way or another. And it's a bit unfortunate when you're the label and the artist, so you really have to there's a lot of expenses that you don't count when So we really started pressing our own vinyl, and that at one point became a nice routine. So we would find distribution with Music Man or News in Belgium. So I would, we would go to the studio, record some songs. We have like a nice date. Go to Soest, have it mastered, have our vinyl, and go with vinyl. Go to Belgium, go to Herkestad to the pressing plant, and have like 500 records pressed, and have our sleeves printed in Enschede. And everything I would actually pick up the records and go back to Amsterdam, and we would sit there and really by hand we would put all the records in the sleeves and put all the stickers on the sleeves.
It was a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. And even with I Don't Want to Be a Freak, the labels, there were stickers. So there were stickers made at the little print shop on the Natuurbaan. And we had to put all the labels on there, and we had to put all the stickers on the sleeves and then put the sleeves in. But then, of course, we had in the next releases that all...
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, that's something that became our little routine or something. So then we had we really had our own little channel. And I think when we did Sound of Planet Earth Volume 1 and 2, we recorded it actually on the dance floor. We didn't record it on the dance floor, we kind of made it on the dance floor. So we figured, okay, we were making music at home, but I'm living in the Pipe, which is like an area which is very congested, and all the houses are very small and the walls are very thin. So you can't really make pounding music there. So we figured, we do it at the club. So we took all the equipment to the club, and we had the club open on like Thursdays and Fridays and Saturdays. But Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, we were able to set up all our equipment and use the speakers from the dance floor as and that's when I made Whipped Cream. And Whipped Cream was the first time, when I didn't really make a song that was planned or something. I was just playing around with some sounds, and I wanted to have like a really, really heavy bass drum, like Joey Beltram had in Energy Flash or something. So I really wanted to have like a bass drum like that, and there's one simple sound and a hi-hat and nothing else. And so that one was played like live at Planet E, and that's also when I noticed, like most of our records that we made, we cannot actually play them ourselves or something. So we would make a record, but we weren't such good producers, particularly or something. So sometimes you make something, but then as a DJ, when you're playing, you can't really play your own record because it doesn't sound as good as the ones from America. Yeah? And with Kream, it was like the first time I was actually able to play my record in my set, and it just sounded like any other record that I would buy somewhere else or something. So that was the first time when I had like the urge to make things a little bit more opzwepend. It's like, what's a good...
Yeah, I'm trying to think that the English word can be like...
Enticing.
Uplifting. But
uplifting, enticing.
Yeah.
And that was around that time when Rubb It In was made too, because Rubb It In is really different from the other songs. That Rubb It In, it really has like it's really like it's telling everybody to go and party.
Yes, like party track.
Hands in the air and blah, blah, blah. And that was the first time we really started to make less mellow music, but like make a little bit more.
Yeah. So what do you remember from the production process of Rubb It In?
Well, like Fierce Ruling Diva is like a combined name, I think, of stuff that Jeff and me produced in the early 90s, or between 89 and like 94 or something. So some songs we would make together, and some songs maybe Jeff would make, some songs I would make, and maybe Jeff would help me with the final recording, with the production or something. I would help him with his final recording production. But so the Fierce Ruling Diva is also like a little bit like a combined name of the music that we would make in those days, either together or by ourselves or whatever. And Rubb It In happens to be like, okay, You Gotta Believe happens to be one of the songs that Jeff really initiated by himself, really wrote by himself, and Rubb It In was one of the songs that I did. And it started really, really weird because I needed a telephone number, and again, we didn't have computers in those days, so you have your telephone, you could dial 008 and you get like a number information, and I needed a number from something, and it must have had something to do with music or with mastering or with a pressing plant or something. But the person at the other side, usually they just give you the number, then they hang up. But this person started to get interested, so we started to talking, and it turned out that this person working as an operator, he was actually like a really fan of our music.
Oh, really?
And he really wanted to see how house music was made. And I was talking to him, and then I realized that 008 Central, you think, that's somewhere, somewhere in Wassenaar. No, it's Roelof Hartplein. They have like a kantoor, and they would, Roelof Hartplein is very central, close to the Museumplein, very central in Amsterdam. And that's actually where they had like their local place where he would work and sit and answer records. So actually, like a few hours later, he would come to my house and sit in the studio. And that was at one point I wanted to show off a little bit or something. So, like we used Atari from the studio, from Mikel Le Roy studio, to use as sequencer. But I always worked with the W-30, and the W-30 it's a combination machine, so it is a sequencer and a sampler and a performance machine in one. So you could create music on it, but it would actually save whatever you do, and you could edit it, and you can load your sounds and work your sounds, but you can also use it as a performance keyboard. So we never really needed like an Atari yet, and I didn't have the money for it either. I had an Amiga, and I was also playing a little bit with like Pro Tracker, but that was not really for me, a bit too nerdy. There's like a lot of numbers going off your screen, and that was a little bit too much for me. So at one point, I was like, okay, I don't need this Amiga anymore. And I think I saw an ad somewhere, or I heard of somebody who wanted to get rid of a 909, and they were really looking for an Amiga. So I really wanted a 909 drum computer in those days, because tell you again about voguing, but Vogue from Madonna, I think that's maybe the first song, which really is like pure 909. It's like a very recognizable 909 sound, and it's obviously like a lot of the early sounds in house music in Chicago house. There was a lot of 808 used, but I think especially like the early 90s, it switched to 909, and everybody started using it. So I really wanted one in those days. And when I was able to trade my Amiga for a 909, I was like, whoa. So the first thing I wanted to do was make a real 909 track. I wanted to have like the pounding snare like Madonna and blah, blah, blah. So at that point, this guy from 008 Nummer Informatie, he was sitting in my house, and I really just wanted to show off, like, oh, you want to know how to make a house track? Well, I'm going to show you how to make a house track. Really simple. And maybe later or something, I learned in life or something that maybe, if you want to learn something yourself, the best way is, teach it to someone else. And then in the process of teaching someone else how to do it, you actually learn yourself how to do it. Mm-hmm. And that's how we really made Rubb It In. So we really went over the process. Well, make a good house track. We need a bass drum. And then, so we took the 909. Okay, I have one with me. This is full. Took one for illustration purposes, but the bass drum is here somewhere. You see the tempo 128, and that was, there wasn't 128 yet, so it was 123. But, so it was really showing off, and it was really like, and you only need like a one finger melody. So we just found some random record, made like a sample of the sound, and started playing a one finger melody, and took like another sample, and it was also in those days we had like a lot of acapellas on vinyl, which we would like play in between records or something. And there was one very famous one. It was called My Lolita, and it was Junior Vasquez or something. It was LSD from New York. He was the one who released that record, and a second track B-side was like a full acapella of Lolita Holloway doing like a one-woman show or something. She was doing like a long monologue. Yeah. And we realized, of course, that a lot of the famous house tracks, like I'm Going to Dish You Right Now, or like a lot of vocal samples that everybody knows, they would all come from that single a cappella. So it was kind of getting exhausted, because most of the best parts of the a cappella were used already. So we were like we were looking for stuff to use, and then at one point, out of the blue came a Quasar, and Quasar, they came with Dish and Tell, so they also made a song using that a cappella. We were like, fuck, we have to hurry up. And then the only one thing that was not used yet was like Throw Your Heads Up in the Air. I was like, oh, why didn't anyone use it? And the Rubb It In, I kind of like, nobody used that too, but I kind of like that. I don't know why she said it or something. And he had this like, yeah, baby. So we had like 3 samples, and that made the song complete or something. And that's also when we had like our first the defining moment or something in our music when we recorded Rubb It In. We were at on the 4th floor in Prinsgracht in Michael's studio, and there was an analog mixing board, and I'm sure this is analog as well, but I'm talking analog with, okay, here you can still remember some settings and still store some things to disk or something, but it was really like a mixing board, like, okay, at the end of the day, when you're done, when you unplug the cables, you're never going to get the sound back that you have again. So we were, but Michael also, he was recording, Dutch mainstream singers or something who you hear on the radio and on TV or something. So going extreme on a mixing board for him was also like experimental, but especially the beats at one point when we had the 909, we had it like everything was going in the red or something, and you weren't really able to control anything, and we had it before, it's really like a bad habit. You go louder and louder with everything, and at some point you cannot do anything anymore because everything's going in the rest. So at that one point, it's like, okay, this is like the moment you take all the slides down and you go, make everything neat again. But at this point, we said, no, let's not do it. Let's not. So we did like some final tweaks, but we really had distortion in the mix or something, and it was really not done. But we decided to keep the distortion because we liked the little like raw edge it was giving or something, and then decided to release it like that. And for us, that was a little bit of a defining moment or something, because that's when we just started to, just be a little bit more free and brutal and do things that we like. But
so the vocal sample that was cleared, or
okay.
Because back
in the beginning it wasn't, of course, but in the beginning sampling also was not that widespread yet or something, so it wasn't something that the industry was paying a lot of attention to, and
it was easier to get away with it.
I mean, you basically only on vinyl. I mean, CDs hardly existed or something, maybe like some compilations or something, but I mean, Rubb It In was never like in the Billboard top 100 or something. That was really like mainstream music back then, and house music was very underground. But at one point we got interest from React Music from UK, and they really helped us like grow a little bit outside the Netherlands, because we were a very local group, even though we had like a management in the United States, and we did extensively tour between 1990 and 94 or something. We had like I think like three US tours. We went to Mexico and Canada, and we really did like a lot of gigs. But in Europe, in the Netherlands or something, and even in the Netherlands, maybe in Amsterdam or something, where we had our fans or something. Not in the like the music industry or something. They were not really impressed with Fierce Ruling Diva or with house music in general. I saw like a rock, 3FM, of course. Like all the mainstream music is all like rock in those days. At that point, React Music really wanted to release Rubb It In seriously, because we only pressed it our own, and we had like I think 10,000 vinyls pressed or something. And that's when they contacted Arthur Baker, because Arthur Baker was ended up being the producer of that particular record and the owner of the master, and we cleared the sample with him then. Yeah. So and it was also like a really friendly deal. And I actually went to Arthur Baker one time, and I saw him in Miami. He was sitting like a couple of rows in front of me. I was like, okay, I have to go and thank him.
Thanks, Arthur.
He's like, who are you? Probably even you don't remember, but no, it's okay. I was able to thank him.
Yeah. So did you, like when you guys finished the Rubb It In, how long did it take you to finish it? Like the production?
No, it was made fairly quick. I mean, it was like I can show you, but we didn't have computers in those days, so I had like a sequencer, and you just record while you play, and okay, you can quantize, and you can do a couple of other things, but it really takes a long time, and you really have to like you have like 5 buttons, so you do everything with those 5 buttons.
Yeah.
So you also think like, okay, we have different volume, but then Michael can fix that or something, or
So
it was made fairly quick.
Yeah, okay. So when Rubb It In was signed to React, did you already have a feeling like, okay, they like it will be a big track?
The nice thing about React was that we really liked React, and they also threw parties in London at that time, so we were also able to perform in London in clubs that we really liked. So we were really happy with React. Yeah. They were very nice people, and they've done a lot of work, like getting others involved. We were already friends with Moby in those days. Moby was also, one of the few people that was making house music in those days. So we were all like, not all like friends, but we all knew each other. We were all like colleagues, and I visited Moby's studio one time. He visited my house one time or something. It was like a big deal or something. He was not a superstar then yet or something. But React Music, they really helped us like getting things serious. Like Bobby was a friend of ours, or he was making music in those days, but they really established that he would make some remixes for us and do all the contracts and do subcontracts, make sure that things were released in the United States as well. And I think by then it was already 1993, 1994, and things were getting harder already in the Netherlands. And with Fierce Ruling Diva, I think we always had a little bit the problem that for us, we always thought like house music is like one sound. And for us, like, acid or house or deep house or hardcore or hard techno or whatever, for us it's all the same thing, or for me at least. And maybe it's maybe different tempo, or maybe it's a little bit, harder or softer, or for us it's like one sound or something. But you notice that in those days, house music would get so big that you'd get like a segregation by social class or something. It's like one social class would listen to like one particular style, and another social class would listen to another particular style, and that became not even a different style, but like a lifestyle or something. So all these different genres within the house music would become like actual complete different lifestyles of people with completely different interests. So with Fierce Ruling Diva, we kind of tried to cling on as long as possible and try to be like the sound that unifies everything, but the effect was actually opposite. So the effect was that you kind of lose definition or something. People don't really know. Are you hardcore? Are you mellow? Are you maybe in America they would like us for our house beats, and maybe in the Netherlands they would like us for our harder beats or something. Yeah. So the name Fierce Ruling Diva became a little bit diluted. So that's when we kind of started to push ourselves as Flamman and Abraxas. Yeah. Like individual names, and which actually led into Party Animals at that one point. But
so do you have any idea how many copies have been sold of Rubb It In during the years?
Yeah, I knew that at one point we figured out that 1 million copies were sold, but that was very early, maybe 1994 or something. But if you add up all the compilation CDs that were sold or something, we had like 1 million copies at one point.
And that's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, we made like 300 songs, I think, over the years, and people only know like maybe 5 or 6.
So, does that bother you, or you don't really care?
No, I don't care, because I know we weren't that good, and I mean, especially when you're pioneering, you're trying to make something new, and maybe it's not good yet or something, but later somebody else will hear like, hey, he's trying to do this, I can do that much better, and so you're.
Yeah. So you already said that, you and Jeff, you also did like Flamman and Abraxas, but you also performed live as Fierce Ruling Diva. Yeah. There have been some legendary performances at events such as Multigroove, Mayday, Impulse, Mysteryland, Defcon 1 and the Ground Zero Festival. What is the funniest or craziest thing that did ever happen during a gig?
Well, okay, a couple. And you missed one, I think, in New York. Oh, no, I mean Los Angeles, I think. I think one of our tours in Los Angeles was we were really like the main act, and we were like in a big venue, like 3,000 or 4,000 people, and the electricity cut off in the middle of our show, and actually people started booing and cheering. I had to actually get on the mic and tell everybody to shut up, and I say, this is how we do it in the Netherlands too. When you have an illegal rave, the generator can cut off, and. But that was really funny. But the funniest thing, I think, was in the very early days. We did it was a total crazy event. We did a show at the Maasvlakte. I think that was the Euro.
Grooves?
The
Euro Grooves?
Nee, one of the very first parties on the Maasvlakte from Riege in the very early days. Yeah. When okay, that was one when we were actually with Rotterdam. Point was
Rotterdam Termination.
Yeah, Rotterdam Termination Corps. Yeah, we were actually at the same stage at that day. It was also like Jeff and me really performed live, so we actually had like our 909 would really be on, and if I would hit the 909, hit the snare or something, you hear it inside. It's a real snare, and when I play the lead melody from Rubb It In or something, I'm actually playing the lead melody. But what you don't realize is that these cables, they have interference, so they can influence each other. So somebody decided to put the cable from the strobe next to the cable from the 909. So when the strobe would go on, the 909 would go on and off and on and on and off, and like right in the middle of our show. And it was just like completely impossible to do our show there. So luckily we had our backup, and luckily we had also like a dead tape. We just have to play like one sound over it, so everything went well. So but then in the end we had to get paid. And Een mega-rave was it trouwens. Was one of the first mega-raves, yeah. And I was looking for George, because George had to pay us. But George, I was for the West George, he's at the case because the whole party was a little bit out of hand and there were so many people and a lot of people were trying to get in. So, and at one point I found George from Rotterdam Terror Corps. People know him also nowadays. But, so he was actually like, holding gates while, to keep people out, while together with all the security people. He said, yeah, oh, you want to get paid? Oh, yeah, you have to go to my mom. She's sitting in the office. So I was okay. So we really had to go. So I went to the sales office. I went to his mom and said, hi, mom, you can, George said I have to call you for the payment. He said, oh, yeah, one moment. And she got up and she was actually like sitting on a box full of money. I was like, okay, that's the best thing you can do when you throw a rave like that. Just put your mother on the money. Yeah. And then don't make her get up unless someone needs to get paid. But that was really funny, and I really, I really liked, the whole organization, the whole event. So yeah.
So that was music a full-time job for you guys already then?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I kept my job as an electrician up until 1996. It's only when really. Have You Ever Been Mellow became it. That's when I decided, okay, now I'm going to stop.
Yeah.
Working as an electrician, as a gaffer.
Okay. So what is your favorite memory when it comes to the release of Rubb It In?
The sleeve.
You actually
I should run it. I should show it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I hear this on the keyboard. I think.
Yeah. And I think. What can I do? No, it's like.
Yeah, that was on the first sleeve, like the floor filler vinyl.
Yeah, I think one of the things I liked about Rubb It In was the release, actually. So the release was not called Rubb It In. It was called Floor Filler, and there were like two other tracks on the other side. Like one we made up with Dano, and the other one I think with Charlie Casanova. No, I think My Name Is House, and
I think I have written notes somewhere.
Today, Here, Tomorrow.
Mirna Shakerson or something like that.
Mirna Shakerson. She was a singer, like in. Who are you? What's your name? House. So I really liked the combination of the three tracks.
Yeah.
Because, My Name Is House is something I mentioned at Rubb It In. I kind of started alone, but My Name Is House is really something I made with Jeff together. And then the other one is something I made with Dano together. With Dano's a really good friend back in those days, but we hardly worked together. And it's just like one of the things that we did together. So I kind of liked the release. It was not Rubb It In, was not the release. It was like a mini album.
Yeah.
So I really liked the release and in the sleeve and the fact that it sold a lot, because we had to usually we would press like 500 or maybe like another 500 and then maybe like another 500, but then you usually have like a couple of hundred left over. So you kind of don't want to be stuck with too many. But with Rubb It In, we really had to like order, and it helped us get to the next level or something, and it helped us get in touch with React Music in UK and and it also paved the way for I think the next one that became really big was, of course, You Gotta Believe, like Atomic Slide, and it was a very simple lyric, but people really liked the song, and we had a really beautiful sleeve there too, like with Jeff as a little blonde-headed Cupid with a bow and arrow. So we really paid more attention to the sleeves back then than on the previous releases or something. So that I really liked. And those two, like Atomic Slide, You Got to Believe, and Rubb It In, that was also, the last songs that I remember from Fierce Ruling Diva that stick with me. Like later we did like more tracks like Get Funky With Me, and we did like some other stuff, but they were nice too, but they were not as revolutionary as a track like Atomic Slide, or You Got to Believe, Rubb It In, or with Kream. And it's also that in those days, when I mentioned earlier that the music became more diverse and people became more strict. Like the house people they only want to have like 128 beats per minute, and if you go to 138 beats per minute, it's not house anymore, but then it's techno, and then it's a whole different group and whole different area of town. Yeah. So those people wouldn't mix and match anymore. So when we did like one CD was Fierce Ruling Diva live at Multigroove, which actually Michael came to Multigroove. We recorded all the sounds there, but we mixed it down in the studio in the week after. But that was even after Mayday, because the show that we did in Multigroove was actually the show that we did at Mayday as well, Mayday Judgment Day in Westfalen in Dortmund, and that was 1993. But you can already tell from the sound that for every song that we did there, we had like a faster version, and our show I think was already like 140 BPM or something. And for Fierce Ruling Diva, it basically that's where it ended or something, and we had to rethink ourselves. And actually, we didn't split up or something in those days, but it's in those days that Jeff went back to New York, and we opened a record store there in the Lower East Side, and Jeff ran that record store for about a year and a half or something. And at that point, my younger brother, he came live in my area, and he had a rental that was too big for him and his girlfriend, and he needed like someone to share it with. So I said, well, sure. So we rented half his apartment, and we built like a little studio, and that was in like 1994. And it's also when I started teaching like multiple nights a week. I already did a matzo, so we were doing like a lot of club nights stuff besides doing all the big parties. But we found a little club again in the Red Light District, like very close to where we used to have like Planet E and Subtopia, our old clubs. And this was like a youth hotel. It's called the Royal Kabul, and it was very close to Central Station. And like this was in 1994, 1995. This is a little bit when the music was really getting harder, and the whole gabber scene was like evolving. And most of the gabbers, they lived in Amsterdam North. So when they would go out in the city, or they go to Hellraiser, or they go anywhere or whatever, they would always, in the end, end up like near Central Station and end up like at one of the bars there. So our location was very strategic towards those, that's a social part of our of the kids back then. So yeah, it just happened, I think when we started playing in Amnesia, I'm sure we were playing like old school techno and acid, and I think already after a year or something, we were like the banging gabber club in Amsterdam. Yeah. I never thought I would end up being a gabber DJ or something, but it just happened. And it was at that point when I kind of contacted Jeff again and said maybe it's time again for you to come back to Amsterdam again, because I think we have opportunity again. When Fierce Ruling Diva ended, we were kind of like stuck with vinyl. We were unable to sell anymore, and it looked like we were like a little bit done or something. But so when the whole hardcore thing came up, it kind of gave us like a new opportunity again to do the things that we were doing anyway or something. But then limited to like one specific group of people, and that was maybe not a group of people that we were likely to serve or something. But at the same time, they were all like really cool guys, and we really like cool people. So with all the gabbers, of course, afterwards now people think like all the gabbers were like crazy, because you see pictures from them when they're like completely off their face and they make like funny faces, so you think like, oh, they must be completely out of their mind. But of course that's only during the night, and they're just like regular people like you and me, but they were just like off their face. And so we didn't have that problem with the people or something. Like maybe people who are really purist and really into house, they would really maybe look down a little bit on the gabber scene, like, oh, that those are people from lower education and a lower social class, and we really don't want to have anything to do with those people. So there were two different scenes, and we didn't have that reservation at all, because I think it was very Dutch. I think especially in the UK and in the United States, house music was never an elite thing or a snobby thing or something. It was always like a very like a people thing. Like only in the Netherlands it was like a snobby thing, because it just started in the Roxy, so it had to have this like air of like artsiness about it or something. But to me, house music always has been like a people sound or something.
Yeah, that's true. So, besides the Fierce Ruling Diva, you and Jeff also worked on other projects such as the Party Animals, Tekno Mafia, Flamman and Abraxas. And you guys even produced some tracks for Double Date, which became pretty famous here in the Netherlands for that track Email to Berlin. So, out of all your productions, what do you consider to be your best production ever? Or your favorite one?
Well, we're here for Rubb It In, and that's actually one of my favorite ones. I think Use and Abuse is one of my favorite productions. But of course, with Party Animals, we're doing shows, and we've been doing shows for like 30 years. So I think we've done like 2,000 shows or something. So I think I must have heard, like, Have You Ever Been Mellow and Use and Abuse. I mean, those songs are just in my DNA. And I love them so much. I mean, it's not, I cannot say which one is my favorite or something, but like with Kream, Rubb It In, and Used and Abused or something, Good to Go. I think that those would be my favorite tracks. But Have You Ever Been Mellow is just like so unique. So of course that's like the number one track. But but I think with Have You Ever Been Mellow, the big difference is that we involved a lot of people. Like with Rubb It In or with You Got to Believe, it was really just Jeff and me, and we were helping each other, and maybe we would have like a vocalist or something. But with Have You Ever Been Mellow, like there were like so many steps involved with recording the vocals, and then we were looking for someone to help us with the musical part, with the arrangement. So my neighbor, who ended up being our tour manager, but he had a girlfriend from Russia, or a wife from Russia, was living in Amsterdam. She happened to be a classical pianist, so we went to her, and of course we wanted to make a cover of a song by Olivia Newton-John, or Olivia Newton-John really originally sang it, but of course it was not composed by her. But we wanted to like kind of like that dissect the original composition, and we wanted to have like the notes that we needed to make our remix or something. So she really helped us find the right chords, and at one point we took the chord apart and we said, like, wait a minute, what if we do one note after each other? So we take the chord and we don't know, like da da, we go do 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 do, and that's how the little opening melody.
Yeah.
But we involved a lot of people, so we would record the vocals, and go home, and later we would go to the studio and remix it. But Have You Ever Been Mellow? We had our small studio then in Van der Stadestraat, so like the basic ingredients of the song, they were there. Like we had like the beats, and we had like the vocal in place where we would have them, but everything would really come to life in the studio. And I think recently I released Have You Ever Been Mellow, like a platinum edition, which had like 3 bonus tracks, but that was really to show that there were many versions of Have You Ever Been Mellow before it actually got released. So there was like a mellow version, we had like a techno-y version, we had like we really, and all those things actually happened in the studio. So at home we were able to do like the pre-production, but in the studio everything would like come to life or something. And it was at the very end that we decided that what we really needed to do with Have You Ever Been Mellow is take away all the sounds, and only the sounds that we really, really need, that really need to be there. And if we take it away, then it falls apart. Only those sounds we're going to keep. Yeah. So then we really have, one beat, one hi-hat, no beat there. And then we really, and if you look at it, I recently discovered the MIDI file, and I was able to load it into Cubase again. But it's really only 8 tracks, and there are only like a few parts. But like almost every beat and every stop and every edit and everything is like has been a discussion about it. And well, it took a long time to make Have You Ever Been Mellow, but it really came to life in the studio at the very end, and it really came to life when we started taking away as many sounds as possible and only have the really necessary sounds that we only need. Yeah. And even then, it was like our final recording. It was like at the very end that our label manager from Mokum Records, from Fred Berghout, he said like, yeah, I think there's one boring moment. I think you have to cut away like 8 bars, like there, and we say yes, that was the missing, because we knew there was something wrong with it, and it really wasn't. We were really not quite happy with it, but then the suggestion came like just cut out the bars where we had like a modulation. We went up like a couple of notes or something, and then after we went down, it wasn't necessary. So we cut out those 8 bars, and that's when we really were finished.
Yeah. And, oh wow, that's cool. So in March 2024, a new Fierce Ruling Diva track was released called "Be Like Me." Were you also involved with that one?
No, but like I'm saying, like Fierce Ruling Diva is always like a name that we put our productions in, and at the moment Jeff is busy with Fierce Ruling Diva and working with other producers as well, and working for himself as vocalist. And I wish him good luck with that. I'm not involved with the production or this.
Okay. And what are you working on right now?
No, it's kind of like, okay, Jeff likes to go maybe use the name Fierce Ruling Diva. I like to continue using the name Party Animals, Flamman and Abraxas, because that's really those are the active shows that we're doing. So we're doing a lot of shows as Party Animals, but we're also doing a lot of shows as Flamman and Abraxas. And it sounds maybe a bit strange when you have Flamman and Abraxas and you only have Flamman and not Abraxas. But back in the 90s, when I would walk with, like say, I would walk with MC Links over through the street or something, me and Jeff and MC Links, we'd walk through the street. And then we would have some girls say like, oh, look, there's Flamman and Abraxas. And they were all pointing at MC Links.
Oh, yeah.
So I kind of know, Flamman and Abraxas, people don't really see Flamman like me or something, or Abraxas, that's that guy. They just see Flamman and Abraxas just like it's like a name. It's like it's not like a, so it's an act. And it's at the moment, when we do a lot of 90s parties, it's obviously the name or something that rings a bell or something. Yeah, exactly. Flamman and Abraxas still, okay, it's good to go. It still has and that's the feeling that we still perform, and it's still unchanged.
Yeah. So are you also working on new music, like new tracks?
Yes, but I prefer doing it under different names because it's difficult, like the name Party Animals or the name Fierce Ruling Diva is also established already. That when you release something under that name, people really expect something. So when you really announce like something big and it's not big, then it's going to be forgotten. I mean, nowadays people think there's 500,000 songs a day coming out. Mm-hmm. So and like at the moment, I really would like to make a new Party Animal single. But at the same time, I realized that the single, we have a half-hour show. We've been doing that show for 2,000 times. I know you make one small change in the show. You put one song, which we do in the beginning, you put it at the end and move something around. It completely changes the show, and it completely, the booking agent will get phone calls already that the show is changing and it's not allowed to change. So if you want to make a new song, it really has to fit in there. So, you need to have a song which has the sound, which is okay, the sound we have, but it also has to have the right tempo. It has to have the right feeling at the right moment. Yeah. And it has to fit in the show. And the boys who are currently the Party Animals, they have to, passionately like the song because they're performing it. So, yeah. And so it's very difficult to make some new music, but we will. And it will come out at one point. I mean, we did some recordings right here in the studio a couple of weeks ago. And it actually sounds good because that's we've done many tryouts in the past. Like thought like, oh, maybe this one is a nice idea, make a happy hardcore song off, and then we really take a lot of effort and have our singer come and sing, and then after we're like, it's just like, okay, who's waiting for this? No one.
So you're pretty picky, you think?
No, but I'm picky as a DJ. Like when I'm a DJ, within 3 seconds I know if I'm going to play that record or not. And it's really harsh, but as a producer, you make a song, you can put a year of effort into it. A DJ is going to decide in a couple of seconds whether he likes the music or not. And I'm exactly the same. So when I make a song and I DJ, I pick up the record and it doesn't sound good, I don't play it. Yeah. I'm not going to play it because I made it. I need a record and I can play right now. It sounds good, which sounds as good as the one before. So I'm doing some stuff with Hakken and Manna, for example. It's like a new name I came up with. And I'm using the name Flamman as well, but it's I'm really trying to reinvent myself because I really haven't. You're mentioning Double Date. Now, after Double Date, we've done a couple of Party Animals productions, but it's only recently that people are really, really appreciating happy hardcore again, and it also has to do maybe with the fact that Joost, our Eurovision contribution from this year, happy hardcore is suddenly also. In mainstream, it's an accepted term again. Yeah. But especially between 2000 and 2010, it really was only, fountain parties and maybe student parties. So you really have like a small niche. But it really doesn't make sense to make new Party Animal singles then. And I know for myself too. I say like, okay, maybe let's say is she still alive, Grace Jones?
Yeah, she's still alive.
She's still alive. Okay, let's say I get invited to go see Grace Jones in Paradiso next week or something. I'm sure I'm going to clap very politely to her new album, but what I really want to hear is nightclubbing.
Yeah, and to the rhythm and stuff like that.
Yeah. So that's really what you want to hear. And the same when you go to a Party Animal show, you want to hear Heavy Vanilla, you want to hear Used and Abused, you want to hear Aquarius. of course you're going to clap for the new single. So you kind of know when you make something new, it's not going to be something people are waiting for. But at the same time, you really want to make some new track in the old sound again, because you do have like that. We do have diehard fans who are really waiting for us to make something in the original sound. But
that's true.
Even if that's just like 500 diehard fans or something. And for myself too, you have to make music because it's I'm kind of weird, so I don't talk much with people. Or I don't really have a network or stuff. But I'm really with music is it's also a means of expressing yourself, and it's also a means of getting rid of your creative energy or something. So it has to come out one way or another. Yeah. So, but I think it's difficult. So, I really haven't produced in a long time, and I really have to reinvent myself as a producer, I think, and really as a solo artist, because we've always been like a duo, because we always thought, okay, 1 and 1 is more than 2 or something, and it's good if we stay a duo, but at the same time, people need like a handle or something. And with Charlie Low Noise and Mental Theo, for example, people know Mental Theo as well, as a solo artist or as a radio DJ or as a TV presenter. So for him, it's much easier to take on like solo bookings. But for Flamman and Abraxas, people really, Flamman and Abraxas, it's not even 2 people. It's just like a name of an act or something. And Flamman doesn't ring that same bell with people. Yeah. So I really have to. But I'm enjoying myself a lot, and I really don't care if. When I started with Lower East Side Records, the first records that we pressed, we made like 500 copies, and maybe we sold like 300 of them, and then we gave away 100, and we had 100 left over. So for me, it's not so strange to begin and release records, and I'm not looking at Spotify like, how many people are listening, because I think, maybe next year when I'm actually ready for it, maybe then someone listens to it, and then suddenly it's a hype, because you're not so confined to. Like when you press CDs, you really have to sell them. Otherwise, you're stuck with like these boxes of CDs in your warehouse. So you really need to get rid of them within 3 months. But with Spotify, you can put a song online, and I don't care if anyone listens to it. Maybe in a year from now, when we're all done and we finally make the album, and then suddenly, like when you put all those tracks together, it's like, oh wow,
yeah, exactly.
And so I'm quite confident that
cool, that
will be okay.
Cool. And the last question: pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your time, and good luck with everything.
I'm really. It's a point, because I think pineapple is not from Hawaii. So I think the whole discussion doesn't make sense. I think pineapples are originally from Venezuela. I looked it up. I think.
You looked it up.
They later came to Hawaii, and then their association with Hawaii is not appropriate. The whole discussion is like patat and friet.
Oh yeah. That's another one. Well,
it's up to you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks a lot for your time, and good luck with everything.
You too.
Alright, that was it. This week's vlog, my interview with Jeroen Flamman, and the story behind Rubb It In by Fierce Ruling Diva. Jeroen, thanks a lot for your time. Much appreciated. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the vlog. If you did, make sure to give this video a like, leave a comment in the comment section below, and very important, make sure to subscribe. Also make sure to click the bell button, because then you will get a notification the next time a new vlog is online. And I did another interview with Jeroen. In that one we're talking about Have You Ever Been Mellow by the Party Animals. That interview will be online in a couple of weeks from now, so stay tuned. Once again, thanks for watching, and until next time, bye bye.